Welcome back to Man Down Sports. As you can see from the thumbnail, Robert Horry had some interesting things to say about the GOAT debate. Really not so much the GOAT debate, but how he ranks the three players that most people have at the top of that list, and that's Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan. You know, he was on the All the Smoke podcast with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, and they asked him, "Look, man, you played with Kobe, you played against Jordan, you played against LeBron. And how do you rank those players individually?" And the reason why I like how he responded to it is because he kind of approached it the way I approach it. When you're talking about who the greatest of all time is, or who a better player is versus another player, you're really grading them and evaluating them like if you was a scout. You want to know what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, what their flaws are, what can you exploit, and when you evaluate a player, it's almost like you're trying to see how perfect they are, and that was interesting what he said. I'm gonna play for you what he said, but before I get to his commentary, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're on Facebook watching us from Facebook, make sure you slide over to YouTube and give us a subscription. Hit that thumbs up. And also share, hit that share button and leave a comment as well. All right. So without further ado, let me go ahead and play for you what Robert Horry said when he was asked the question or how he ranked those players.
Snow, okay. And I'm glad we get to ask you this question because you saw all three: MJ, Kobe, LeBron. Where are they at in your opinion?
I think MJ is 1, Kobe is 2, and LeBron is 3. Because
someone agrees with me.
I tell people that I don't think MJ had a flaw in his game. You say people say, well, he didn't shoot threes. He could shoot threes when he wanted to shoot threes. He didn't need to shoot threes because you couldn't stop him going to the hole or pulling up on the J. And Kobe was the same way. And I think LeBron is a fucking great player. So when you say this, people will think, oh, you smacking LeBron in the face. No, I'm not doing. He's still 1C. Kobe's 1B, and this Mike's just his first. And I know the body of work that all these guys have put in. But I just think if you say, is there a flaw in LeBron's game? Yes. Was there a flaw in Kobe's game? He couldn't play post defense. And people don't know, if I say this, people
for real. That's why Bonzi killed it.
Yeah, see, people get mad at me saying that. No, it's like, let's be honest, let's watch. And like Kobe, the way he used to play was like this. It's like, you can't play a player like this. You got to have contact. It's so many things like that.
It wasn't offensively.
Yeah, it's just so many things you talk about. And so that's why, to me, that's how you set it up. Because, those other guys got that itty bitty chink in their armor. Little bitty chink. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to, micromanage everything like we do in this world now, that's why you put MJ first.
Ooh. And he got more rings than all of them. Facts.
Yeah.
Go ahead. One album you can listen to.
All right. So that's what Robert Horry said about the whole situation and how he ranked those three players. And I think that's interesting because when you have people that are pro LeBron in this debate, the only things they point to is how many assists he gets, right? Because as far as points, both of those guys, all three of those guys, they're putting up, close to 30 points a game. They're all three unstoppable in their own way. LeBron's bigger. He's a 6'8" guy that's 260. So, of course, rebounding is going to be where he gets the edge. But he's also a guy who plays a lot of point guard or point forward and facilitates a lot. So he's going to get those assist numbers. So as far as stats, LeBron stuffs the stat sheets in a different way. Now, the interesting thing is when you look at how Michael Jordan and Kobe rebounded, it's not too far from LeBron. I think LeBron, for his career average around 7. I think Kobe and Mike is around 5. So LeBron's getting 2 more rebounds. And he was averaging around 7 assists, even though one season he's averaged 10, and some seasons he's averaged 8 or 9. But for his career is about 7, and for Kobe and MJ is about 5 or 6. So it's not far off, but it's just more. And then he more often stuffs the stat sheets as far as triple doubles and things like that. So it's a misconception when they use their argument for LeBron about points, rebounds, and assists because LeBron, Mike, and Kobe, all three are stuff in the stat sheets with those is just it's just a little bit more for LeBron. Now, they use that argument for LeBron, and then of course, if he's averaging a little bit more than 2 rebounds and 2 assists per game, more than them, and he's played more years, then that's going to accumulate more overall stats for LeBron as well. So when you look at the all-time record book, he's going to be higher on that as well. So I mean, that's what LeBron has going for him. What people won't do when they had this conversation, when they're pro LeBron, is actually break down basketball and break down them as a player. Like, what are their flaws? And you see what Robert Horry, he went straight to MJ had no flaws. Even if you wanted to say what his 3-point shooting percentage was not that high. All right. So if you want to say he had one flaw, which was he wasn't a sharp shooter from the 3, which is not really true. His percentage was low, but he shot very, very few 3-pointers. And he explained why he didn't want to concentrate on the 3-point shot in an interview years ago, right? While he was still a player. But if you want to say that was one of his flaws, okay, cool. That's one. But as far as what he can do with the ball, what he can do without the ball, what he can do on the perimeter, what he can do in the post, what he can do in post defense, what he can do on perimeter defense, what he do on the fast break, what he do in the paint, what he do in the mid-range, what he do at the free throw line, his mentality, him being in shape, his conditioning, his IQ, his will to win, his drive. Like, all these things you start adding up and you be like, man, none of those things was weak for this man. Everything was a strength, right? And then you look at the guy and Kobe Bryant, who actually was identical to Michael Jordan. He took it to another level in some cases, as far as like dribbling and stuff like that. Like, he was even a 2.0 version of Michael Jordan when it comes to ball handling. And then his 3-point shot was probably a little bit sharper than Michael Jordan's. And then, defense, he was the same thing on the perimeter. But you said, you hear Robert Horry say that his post defense was where he had the weakness at. So he said 0 weakness for Mike. He said really 1 weakness for Kobe was post defense. But when he talked about LeBron, he didn't want to mention all his flaws, because I think it's more than one. I think free throws is a flaw for LeBron. Right, he's average to below average as a free throw shooter. I think playing off the ball is a weakness for LeBron. I think that playing in the post used to be a weakness for LeBron. He's got it more efficient, not efficient, but more. What's the word I'm looking for? He's more effective at it now than he was before. But post play was a weakness. His footwork. It's a weakness. Sometimes his clutch has not been there. Passing up shots, so many different things about his game. You can point to as being a weakness. He stopped playing defense for several years. There's been a weakness. Catch and shoot has been a weakness. Mid range has been a weakness. So it's a lot of things that you can point to for LeBron there's a weakness. Now, some years ago, I used to work as a metrologist, as we call it. But essentially, what we did is calibrate gear. Calibrate test instruments. So it could be like a meter, right? So you got a meter. A meter that any meter that's in your car, it can be miles per hour, whatever you want to take, or something that measures PSI. So let's take that, right? So what we have is standards. What we call a standard is something that is perfect. Well, we know nothing can be perfect, but the closest thing to perfection we can get, we'll call that a standard, right? So we have a standard that's close to perfection. So with that standard, 150 PSI on this standard is as close to 150 as you can get, right? Let's say this standard is literally 150 PSI. So everything that we use to test PSI with out in the work field can only stay in the work field for so long before it has to come back and we recalibrate it. And when we recalibrate it, we hook it up to the standard, and then we run pressure through it, and we read the standard. The standard, of course, is going to read 150. We'll put 150 in the system. The standard to read 150, but the instrument that we're testing or we're trying to calibrate probably won't be at 150. It'll be a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. It'll be off, and then we have to readjust it to match 150 to match the standard, and then we can put a sticker on it and say this is recalibrated. We can send that back to the field and do diagnostics on whatever equipment you need to test. The reason why I bring it up is because in basketball, that's the way I grade players. I grab a player that we can use as a standard, right? Closest thing to perfection. Now, in my mind, I think there's a standard for wing players that play on the perimeter, and there's a standard for post players, right? So it's not the same standard. And the standard I use for wing players that's the closest to perfection that I've seen is Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Why? Because they had the least amount of flaws in the way they play, right? So, and you can use players on the court abilities as a standard, and you can also use resumes as a standard. And I think Michael Jordan on the court is a standard, and I think his resume is also a standard. The man just won. The man put up numbers. You know, the man played both ends. The man didn't really have no flaws on either end of the court. That's got to be a standard. What we're doing with the LeBron, adding him into the debate, is we're lowering the standard, right? So what we're saying now is we think Michael Jordan was closest to perfection as possible, but now we're saying if we want to put LeBron as the greatest of all time, we're lowering their standard. It's okay to go to the finals and lose 6 of them, right? Losing 6 finals, that's not the same as being 6-0. So we lower the standard in finals and finals appearance and final wins, right? We lower the standard of playoff performance. It's okay for you to go and play against Dallas and average 14 points a game in the finals and get outplayed by JJ Barea and Jason Terry and have a super team and lose to Dirk, who didn't have anything close to a super team, right? We lower that standard. It's okay for you to leave your team because you couldn't build a winning team around you and form a super team in Miami. That's okay. Like that resume, yeah, we're lowering the standard versus what MJ did. I'm gonna stay with the Bulls. Give me the guys that you drafted. Let me turn them into something, right? It's okay for you to take years off and play lackadaisical defense for years. Decide when you want to defend, right? It's okay not to hone your skills and be a good off-ball player. MJ was with the ball on the ball at the beginning of his career. Phil Jackson took him off the ball, and he made being off the ball a strength when he originally didn't want to do it, right? But we're saying it's okay for LeBron to be on the ball his whole career and never come off of it and never develop those skills to be off the ball, never develop the mid-range game, never develop the post game. You get what I'm saying? Like it's okay not to be a great free throw shooter, right? So we're lowering the standard. Why would we take it from a standard that's really high with Kobe and MJ and lower it to a lesser standard? Right. So you don't want to do that. And I'm glad Robert Horry kind of pointed that out and brought perfecting your skills back into the conversation of who the best player is. Because the conversation has been moved from how good you are as a player and how developed you are and how you turned all your flaws, that if you had any, into strengths. To the point where you had no flaws. we took the conversation from that and took it to what can you put on paper as a resume? Because on TV and in media, that's all they're talking about is the paper resume. Who's the best guy? This guy, this guy. And the first thing they start talking about is points, rebounds, assists, triple doubles, making your teammates better, some stuff that you can't even measure, assists. They're just talking about all this, finals appearances, and that's all they're talking about is what you can put on paper. Don't matter how you do it, right? What can we put on paper? So I don't know. I just wanted to kind of point that out, and I'm glad Robert Horry said what he said, man. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Did he have it right? Michael Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron. And I'd be interested to hear Robert Horry on what he think about the GOAT debate. Like, cause he might even he's putting them Mike, Kobe, LeBron in their order, but I don't know if Kareem fits in there if he was talking about the GOAT debate. But for them three, he definitely put LeBron third. But y'all let me know where y'all got him and give me y'all reasoning for why y'all got that order in that way, and let y'all know what y'all think, or let me know what y'all think about what I just said or what Robert Horry said as well. So I catch y'all on the next episode.